Welcome to my movie Configuring NAT on a Cisco 2811 router. In the essence of time, what I've done, I've actually laid out the network which we'll be working with. So as you see on the on your screen, you will see here we're using the 10 network for, and that will be your inside interface, and we'll be using the 74.125.15 network. That will simulate the outside interface, which will be representative of the internet, and we'll be using the 172.31.0 network /24, which will represent or DMZ. I have gone ahead and have interconnected everything but for the server, which is actually in the DMZ, because I don't know how many of you are familiar with packet tracer, and I just wanted to give you the option of seeing how I actually insert another card. So right now, if I should try to make this connection from the router down to the web server, there are no more interfaces right on the router. And what I'll do, actually, I'll introduce another switch. So to introduce a switch, I'll go I'll just click on the switch over here, and I'll just use a 2960. It really doesn't matter which one I use, but I'll just use a 2960 for now. And I'll grab a cable from the connection, straight through cable, and connect from my switch over to my server fast Ethernet interface. And I'll go up to the router, and look what happens. There are no more Ethernet interfaces on the router. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to go on the router itself, and I want to add an additional interface. These are the modules that are available to you. We'll be able to select, let's say, just a fast Ethernet, and once you select them over here, you'll see the interfaces that are available to you there. So I'll just select one interface here, and I'll just drop it in the spot up there. This is important. This is how real it is. It's detected that the router is powered on. So if, in real life, if you do have a router, you cannot insert a module in it with it powered on, so we'll have to power it off. To power off the router, we'll just hit that little power button there. Now we're able to drop our interface inside. Let's just see this here. Alright, so the interface is dropped in. Now we could power the router back on. Alright, and we could close that out. Now we're going to be able to go in and grab the cable, and we'll be able to connect from the fast Ethernet 1.0. Alright, so just like I've done the others, let me go over and I'll just label that it's fast Ethernet 1/0, and that will be a representative of my DMZ interface. And you see these IP addresses? These are the IP addresses that I'll configure on the router's interface of each network. Alright, so let's get started. I'll first go into the router, the command interface of the router. So to do that, I'll double click, and I'll just put it over to the side so you can see it. I'll go to the command line interface, and this is the auto configuration, and I don't like to do that, so I'll just say no and hit enter. I'll go into the enabled mode and go into the configuration mode. After I'll do that, I'll go into the fast Ethernet. I'm configuring the inside of the network right now. So it's interface fast Ethernet 0/0, and I'll assign an IP. Alright, I'm sorry. I must have mistyped something. Fat-fingered something here, guys. Pardon me. Right, so now the interface is on it. We need to turn the interface up. I like to save. So if you notice, once I turn the interface up, that interface came on. That light went green. So that interface is good. Another thing that I should have done was I normally label my router. By default, when you power the router on, it comes on with the name router. So I'll just name it. To do that, I've got host name, and I'll just give it a name. I'll just say I'll just give it the name based on what we're doing. So say NAT router 01, Alright, so actually change the name, and I'll save that setting. Now let's bring up the DMZ interface. Interface fast Ethernet 1/0. IP address is 172.31.0.1. It's 255.255.255.255.0. There's something going on with me today, I don't know, but pardon me. Alright, and we could see that interface is coming online also. Now let's get on the external interface. As we've actually decided before that this was going to be our fast Ethernet 01, and the IP address is going to be 74.125.15.1, as you can see on the network diagram there. So let's get in that interface. It's interface FA 0/1, and IP address 74.125.15.1. As a matter of fact, let me show you. So if you don't know, I just wanted to show you this. IP address. You notice I don't have to type everything. So I just do tab and the entire word comes up, by the way. That's just what I wanted to show you. 74.125.15.1. We were doing /24, so it's 255.255.255.0. And we do no shut, and the interface is up. Now, to be able to test our connections, we'd have to assign IP addresses to these computers over here. We'd have to assign an IP address to the server, and we have to assign an IP address to the machine, which is representative of an internet machine. So you'll notice here I did label that, and what I'll actually do is I'll go in and configure that machine. So we decided we're going to be using 74.125.15.10. So let's go in and do that. So to do that, we click the machine, we go to the desktop, we go to IP config, and we'll do 74.125.15.10. Subnet mask, we decided we're using a /24 network, so that will be 255.255.255.0. And the default gateway is nothing more than the interface, the IP address of the interface that is connected to the router in this case. So it's 74.125.15.1. Alright, and we did that. So let's see whether or not we can ping our interface. That's an interface on the router. To do that, we do the ping 74.125.15.1, and as we see, it is working. Alright, we'll do the same thing on our server here. We'll go to desktop, go to IP configuration, and we decided that it was going to be 172.31.0.100. So let's configure that in there. 172.31.0.100. And we'll put the mask in 255.255.255.0, because we're using /24, and we're putting the IP address of the gateway, which is the interface IP address that's configured on the router. So that's 172.31.0.1. And again, we'll just test for connectivity. To test for connectivity, we're going to be doing 172.31.0.100. Alright, so far it seems to be working, no problem at all. Alright, so if you notice, I had to make some quick adjustments to the network, and in order for me to be able to properly explain this to you so you understand everything that we're doing, what I went ahead and I inserted another router, which will be it will give you more of a true sense of how things work in the real world, and that's just exactly what I wanted to do. So I've introduced another router, and there will be a new network that will be existing between the outside network, and also a different network that's representative of the internet. All right, so let's just go into our router one. And let's just make some minor configs change. So again, we're going to go back into config mode. We're going into config T. Let's go into interface, and that's 0/1. And this IP address there is actually it's configured already. So that's 124.125.15.0. We could look at it. We could just do show run, and when we do that, it will show us the IP addresses that are configured in each interface. And if we notice here on interface 1, that IP address there is configured. So let's go into our second router. On our second router, we're not going to do the auto config. We're going to go into the router itself, config T, and I'll just do the host name is equal to outside just router 01. I could make it anything I want. Interface FA 0/0, and I'll do IP address. It's 74.125.15. I'll just do .2, and it's 255.255.0, and I'll do no shut, and it will come online. All right. If you notice, it did not come online because I deliberately wanted to show you when you're connecting two like devices, for example, a router to a router, you'll need to use a crossover cable. When you're configuring a PC to a PC, you'll have to use a crossover cable. So what I did here, I connected a straight through cable, and you realize that it did the interfaces, even though it's saying up on the router, it didn't actually come up, right? So it's not functioning. So these are some of the little pitfalls that could happen to us. So again, we'll just remove that, and we'll just select the crossover cable down on the canvas, and we'll just, and now you see that the interface is up. All right, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Yeah, this video is getting too long, so I'll have to break it up in different parts, so you'll be able to see part 2. But before we break, let's go into the second router interface again, and once we do that, we're gonna configure the outside interface so that now it's interface FA 0/1. And that's this interface. Actually, let me just do that. FA 0/1, and we will see that. And this will now belong to the 74.125.20 network. So the .1 is what I'll be putting on that interface. So if I go IP address, again, 74.125.20.1, and do it here in 255.255.255.0. We notice that it's coming online. We'll have to make the adjustment on the IP address on this host to now be 20, and we will change the gateway to now be 20. Alright, so if I went to the command prompt and I ping 74.125.20.1, once the interface is all the way up, then we should start getting replies. The interface just came up, and we're getting replies. Alright, and look what happens if I try to ping 15.1, which is the interface on the inside router or the inside firewall, you know, because we're kind of setting these up as if they were firewall. We would not be able to get a reply, right? We'll say timeout. What happens is the packet that's coming from PC3, it's actually getting here on router 0. It get into FA0 and router 0, but router 0 does not know how to get back to the 125 Part-1.20 network, right? So I guess we'll just pause here, and on our next video you will see when I configure the NAT. All right, so I hope to see you on the next video.